spring prep done here. Progress certainly feels very slow. Honestly, have no idea what I'm doing anyways. Handful of flowers that I have. Ooh, I'm having a hard time zipping this vest. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today is a pretty gloomy and overcast March day. I am out here in the orchard today. I am exceptionally late to getting some pre-spring prep done here. We were really blessed to move onto a property with some existing fruit trees. New to fruit trees. I tried my best. I had someone come over and kind of show me the basics of pruning, but I don't know. We'll see what we get for fruit this year. Little babies. But we inherited a couple of problems in my very uneducated experience and opinion, like trees that are just have kind of gotten out of hand, haven't been pruned to keep up with the amount of fruit that they are producing. We have a couple trees that produce really well and others that are dying and produce nothing. We are gonna play a little bit of catch up today and try to get ahead on this next growing season by starting to place some mulch. But before we can do that, we are going to have to pick up any weeds that I left. I put a pretty heavy layer of straw and old bedding out here that has been grown over, but it produced a lot of weeds. So I'm going to get in there, start pulling up all the weeds. We've had rain the past 12 hours, so the ground is workable. The ground is not workable in the late spring and early summer. It is like hard pan. It is not fun, and we are working on reviving this place, so let's get ahead and jump right in. But being completely honest, this is why I've put off doing this until now, is because we are 20 minutes in and my youngest is already kind of losing her mind, asking for a snack, asking to go inside. If we end up going inside, we pretty much end up being done. So there's this version of myself that I imagine before the day even starts. The one who gets it all done. And then real life shows up, usually in the form of a tiny human who's had enough. This week in particular, we battled quite a bit of wind and rain ripping through, which makes waiting for mama to finish the task particularly unbearable. Homesteading with young children means your work is almost always interrupted. A task takes 3 days that might have only taken 1. You start new things, walk away, and then the day closes before you've finished. But morning always makes its way around again, handing you back what you left undone. Potato bugs. There's just something so satisfying about clearing, pruning, and cleaning in the early spring. Having that window where you could just remove what isn't working anymore so you could set the tone for the rest of the year. When you purchase a piece of land, you inherit someone else's vision for it too. Someone chose the flowers, the shrubs, and the decorative objects that you'll see scattered throughout our property with intentionality and care. But the land has to live in the present, and in this season with small children, a growing family, and a farm that needs to function for us, some of what was beautiful before just isn't what we need now. I hold both things at once, gratitude for what was here and the willingness to change it. On this day, I stood there in the orchard for a very long while, not knowing where to start. That is kind of my approach with this, somewhere between figuring it out and just going for it and praying that my plants and the trees are forgiving. Though I got discouraged and walked away, I did come back to finish the task after a little bit more research that built my confidence. Here I am laying down a old pile of horse manure and dirt that I scraped out last summer. I'm going to put it as the base underneath the mulch that is coming next. So while I acknowledge that I am completely novice when it comes to all things gardening and fruit tree orchard, I really am hopeful that we will get a decent harvest this year from our trees. All right, I feel like the wind is finally kind of dying down a little bit. I'm gonna get in here and start scraping out this hay because we are gonna bring in some new hay today. I've been waiting to bring in more hay so we can scrape this out. We're just gonna start buying little bits at a time until we could go buy some bulk hay again, but I have been doing a lot of reflecting lately on what we are building here. Not even just this piece of land directly, but what we're creating together as a family. My husband Colton works incredibly long days, putting time away from our home that starts before the sun rises and ends after it sets. So when the weekend comes, we feel it all. The long to rest is accompanied by the guilt of not being up and at 'em, getting the unfinished tasks and unstarted projects completed in just 1 to 2 days. Showing up for the commitment of taking care of this land, these animals, our home, is something that we dreamed about for a long time, and it's not something that we will allow ourselves to take for granted. But another part of me is also starting to recognize the uncomfortable reality that most of what is done around here falls to me. The day-to-day tasks that keep our home and the animals alive fall completely on my shoulders. I've had to come to the realization that this dream of raising around food and falling into a rhythm of self-sufficiency has almost always been my own. It's just not a hoot. Chickens, sheep, a cat. Everybody's excited. I've been putting so much unnecessary pressure on myself to continue to grow. The gardens, the animals, you know, the aesthetic homesteading lifestyle that sells. Not because I want life to seem perfect or to portray things a certain way, but because I am determined to make it happen someday. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with having the life we want, aesthetically pleasing or not, as long as we leave room to acknowledge the hard work, the patience, and the perseverance that it takes to get there. And the dream doesn't just disappear in these slow seasons, these seasons of waiting. It waits for you to tend to and steward what you have already been given. And while you wait, the real work is happening beneath the surface. You realize that you're being built, refined, and transformed into who you will become.
Oh my God! You went on my toe.
Oh man.
Can I do it?
It is another incredibly windy day here on the farm. We're gonna go outside and try to get the things done that we were able to get done yesterday. We just got back home from church, and so I am throwing on my clothes to go outside and put in some work. Let's try to finish getting the orchard mulched and maybe hopefully get started on my raised garden bed. Ooh, I'm having a hard time zipping this vest. To the realities of life on the farm. I quickly realized that moving this compost by hand was not near as efficient as taking a drag to it would be. I knew our tractor would be too big to fit in between the trees, so the lawnmower got the call to action today. I'm not gonna lie, this was a bit of a struggle to maneuver through the deeper and siltier piles of dirt while hauling the heavy drag, but I was incredibly pleased with the end result. One step closer to mulching and hopefully having healthier producing trees this summer. Progress certainly feels very slow, but that's just something that I've learned in this season of life. Just kind of comes with the territory of raising young children and starting a farm all at the same time. I mean, I'm literally growing our third baby while I am doing all of this mostly on my own. So I definitely have to have a lot of grace for myself. I see so many others doing so much more than me, right? And it's just all relative to what your capacity is and what you can handle. I'm definitely happy because slow progress is still progress. Getting the orchard done with the pruning and the mulching and adding the compost is a win in my book. So if that's the only thing I got done this week, I'd be happy with that. And it pretty much is. Progress feels slow right now, and I want to be honest about that. I'm doing my best to keep myself healthy and grow our third baby, manage the farm and all that comes with it, and trying to remain present for our 2 children that God has already blessed us with. There are real limitations to what I can accomplish in a day, and I'm learning very slowly to make peace with that. But slow progress is still progress, and despite 5 million interruptions, the orchard is now finished. I did also get a good chunk of pruning done yesterday. Obviously, it's not a perfect pruning job. A lot of that stuff right there could be taken, but I am not gonna climb on a ladder to try to prune these trees, and I honestly have no idea what I'm doing anyways, so I'm just gonna sacrifice all the fruit that grows up there to the birds. And as you can see, this apple tree still never even dropped the rotten fruit that it grew last year, and I'm almost wondering if it's maybe some sort of disease because of a pest, but also because there was no cross-pollination with this apple tree. I don't know if this apple tree had any blooms or apples on it either. I really don't know what it takes for them to be able to grow correctly. So honestly, guys, I'm just winging it at this point. Okay, so I have a handful of seeds here. All of them have been bought locally. I haven't ordered anything online. But for this year, since it's my first year of really trying to grow and experimentation, I got these sunflower and American daisy flowers from the Dollar General, 2 for $1. Things like flowers, I'm not really that concerned about cheaper seeds per se. I'm sure as the years go on, I will get much more particular about brand of seeds that I'm buying, but for now, this is where we're at. Flowers that I have: a mixed color sunflower, I have a mixed color African daisy, I have a Shasta daisy, Little Princess semi-dwarf variety. I don't know anything about growing flowers, but look how pretty those are. I really, really like the look of those. And then I have this pack of sweet peas. I don't know if I'm gonna direct sow these or... And then for a handful of things for us to eat, I had got 2 packs of organic Walla Walla onions. These seeds are from last year. I have no idea if I'm gonna be able to get them to germinate and grow, but I have a packet of all sweet watermelon and a sugar snap pea. Those would be 2 really fun ones to grow if I could get them to germinate. And then this is where it gets a little bit crazy. I'm well aware that a lot of these things might not actually be local to my area, so hopefully these were still a good purchase, but the Dollar General had a handful of flowers. I got a marigold mix, a sunny area wildflower blend. It has things like calendula, cosmos, delphinium, echinacea. Here's a semi-dwarf mixed zinnia pack. I'm excited about this one. I really hope I can get this one to germinate and grow really well. A shade area wildflower blend and a bird and butterfly wildflower blend. It's funny, I could sit here and be talking about planting when I don't even really have any garden beds prepped. Let me show you the state of the garden beds that the previous owner left behind. They've been well loved by the dogs and the children, let's just say that. I'm not really loving this whole backyard area, if I'm being completely honest. I know that this is some person's dream, is to have their garden area surrounded by gravel so no weeds grow. But for my family, we love to be barefoot outside, and looking out into our backyard to see nothing but gravel is not really our ideal. So I am planning on relocating a lot of these beds. A lot of them are falling apart, and also when we go to take the gravel out of this area, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to keep them standing, if that makes sense. So immediately upon walking out our back door, this is what you are going to see. We have a handful of raised garden beds over here. this garden bed right here that my kids obviously really love to play in. These flowers, I have to put it up on the screen because I can never remember what they are. They grow like freaking weeds. As you can see, we have some things falling apart over here. I have taken the soil out of this bed and relocated it to a bed over there in my front yard. Everything looks like this. I mean, it's covered in tarp and it's covered in rock, and yeah, as you can imagine, this is why we just aren't really in love with this whole situation. I would just love to see grass growing and then have some raised beds in there. These can honestly all be torn out. So here's a different view from another angle. Yes, there's garbage everywhere because we never come back here. Wind just blows things in. See, it's random things like this and garbage that has just blown in, that it's just, we never come back here. We never take advantage of this space. This was obviously well loved by somebody previously, but it's just not a perfect fit for our family, to be honest. We do have a couple of rose bushes back here that have never had a chance to thrive under my care because goats have always gone into these. I don't know what we're gonna do with these. There's 3 of them. There's one here and 2 others over there. I do have a little greenhouse over there. I can go show you guys what my greenhouse looks like at the moment. It is not very pretty. I do have another pretty cool type of raised bed over here that I completely ignored last year. My mom watered it a handful of times. Needs to be weeded. Anyway, here is my greenhouse. It's obviously pretty old, well loved. Everything is torn apart and just thrown in there. And this is the current state of the greenhouse. Oh, that must have broken during one of our windstorms. Ooh, it's toasty in here actually. All these boards just go back up onto the tables, so that's not a big deal. I'm loving this potting station. Maybe this should be a project that we tackle sooner rather than later before I get all my seed starting done, but to me right now this is just a little too much. Along with the pressure to have it all figured out, the analysis paralysis that I have had in starting seeds and getting things going for this year's garden has been pretty crazy, but I did end up getting these onion seeds started and put into my little DIY greenhouse situation that you see me setting up here. Thank you so much for joining me for another video of what we have going on here on the homestead. I would love to hear from you in the comments, anything you would like to see from me in the future. God bless you, and hope to see you back for another one.